6 new countries will join the BRICS alliance, adding to the bloc of nations led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Starting January 1st, BRICS will be expanded to include Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. The announcement came as BRICS members wrapped up a 3-day summit in South Africa. On Wednesday, Chinese President Xi Jinping blasted what he called a Cold War mentality haunting international politics.
A reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28 and verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. All right, first and foremost, as always, I'd like to start this lesson off by giving all honor, glory, and praises unto our power, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, HARAKAH, Call HALALYAM, ALAHAYANAWA, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, HARAKAH, Yahawah being the true name of the heavenly Father in the Paleo-Hebrew tongue, which means he is, he to be, he exists. BAHASHAM in the name of his only begotten Son, YAHAWASHI, which means he is salvation. He is the deliverer. He will deliver the remnant, the elect of his people, the 12 tribes of Israel, the Hebrew Israelites, in these latter days, according to biblical prophecy. BAHASHAM, HARAKAH, in the name of the Holy Spirit. And sincere thanks and honors and respect unto the sincere elder apostles, elder bishops, teachers of GMS Great Millstone, as well as the like-minded elders and brothers that are under the umbrella, pushing the truth and sincerity all in one accord across 4 winds of the earth, risking your lives and freedoms to do so. To you, I say shalom. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the house of David, the tabernacle of David, consisting of the 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, Haitians, West Indians, and Israelite foreigners are scattered abroad. Those who derive from the seed line of our forefather Jacob through Abraham and Isaac, you make up the 12 tribes of Israel that the Bible speaks of. May you seek repentance and salvation in these latter days. Shalom to the Akim and the YAHAWAH, brothers and sisters who may be tuning in. YAHAWASHI, and may the blessing of election be upon you and your households here in these latter days to the sincere-hearted. Now, as you heard, right, the announcement here, okay, as was stated in that video from Democracy Now! From Insider Paper, right, it says BRICS hails historic entry of new members amid bloc rivalry. Right, and it says BRICS leaders announced Thursday, the host of last week, the historic admission of 6 new countries as it seeks to reshape the Western-led global order and expand its influence in an era of strategic competition. The BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa agreed to their annual summit to make Argentina, Ethiopia, Iran, however you like to pronounce it, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, full members as of January 1st, 2024. Quote unquote, this membership expansion is historic, said Chinese President Xi Jinping, whose nation is the most powerful in the group, large and populous economies. Now that's up for debate, of course, with Russia being, pursuant to Ezekiel chapter 38, a guard unto the nations, right? Now, continuing on, says the expansion is also a new starting point for BRICS cooperation. It will bring new vigor to the BRICS cooperation mechanism and further strengthen the force for world peace and development. Beijing has campaigned to rapidly grow and strengthen the BRICS as a counterweight to U.S. and Western dominance of world affairs. Right? And that includes Babylon, America, okay, spiritually Sodom and Gomorrah, spiritually Egypt, known by many names throughout the scriptures, right? Okay, Basra, Edom, the Tyrus, Nineveh, many names in the scriptures, right? So continuing on now, it says, and the push to expand membership headlined the summit agenda in Johannesburg, which is in South Africa. It says Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed hailed what he called a great moment for his country, the second most populous in Africa, right? So they're bringing in some heavy hitters, if you will, right? And Salakia, let me give a shout out to the Malakim out here. Malak, Brakim Tamyar upon you and your household, brother, as always, and to the beloved brother, all right, Malak La'ab, Yahbashim Yashab Brakatah, Brakim Tamyar upon you and your households as well, brother. All right, so peace and many blessings to the brothers and sisters that may tune in. All right, so continuing on now. Again, as we read, let's slide over to this right here. Saudi Arabia inks a $1.3 billion housing infrastructure deal with China. All right, so it says right here that they've signed several housing and infrastructure agreements worth $1.33 billion on the sidelines of the Saudi-Chinese Business Forum hosted by Beijing on Wednesday. It says a total of 12 agreements, memorandums of understanding were signed between the Saudi side and Chinese companies in the fields of infrastructure and financing, right? So they are, again, holding deals and wheeling and dealing, Slovakia, wheeling and dealing and further solidifying their ties and their cooperation, right? And their economies, right? So they're just going to show that they can stick it to the West, right? They can stick it to Babylon America by continuing to rely on each other and build up their independence, their solidarity amongst one another, and how they can also devalue the American dollar, right? So on and so forth. So again, these are all moves, power moves by that ultimately YAHAWASHI Yahawah is willing these individuals and these countries and so on and so forth to do, right? Okay, so afterwards, further down, it reads, these partnerships are set to foster advancements in key areas, including 5 focused on real estate developments, signaling a promising trajectory for the mutual growth of the kingdom, which refers to Saudi Arabia and China, right? So continuing on further down, it says right here, during his speech at the forum, Hogal stressed Riyadh's dedication to enhancing its partnership with China as he spoke about several recent achievements, including the summits led by Chinese President Xi Jinping, his visit to Saudi Arabia in December, right, where it says, with the construction of over 300,000 housing units across 17 Saudi cities, covering an area of over 150 million square meters and valued at over $26.66 billion, the kingdom, again referring to Saudi Arabia, holds significant investment opportunities, right? So again, these moves, they're continuing to strengthen each other and their economy and whatnot, and there's no turning back now. The Heavenly Father is only going to allow these countries to continue to solidify their alliance with one another. As you read further down right here, it says, in June, during the 10th Arab-China Business Conference in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Investment signed a $10 billion worth of investment agreements with Chinese companies. It says further down in the speech there, it says that China remains the largest trading partner of Arab countries, with the volume of trade exchange reaching $430 billion in 2022, up 31% from the previous year. In 1 year, it jumped 31%. All right. So that is only going to continue to what? Destabilize and devalue the American dollar and this economy, right? And so on and so forth. And is only, again, going to strengthen and solidify their ties together. All right. Shalom to the Malak, Nakawan Banloa, Yabashi Mashab Brakata Malak. All right. Babu Shah, subscribe to all these beautiful brothers, man, out there going hard in the paint in the names of Yahawashi Melshai. Beautiful work you brothers were putting on in Texas this weekend, man. Yapa. Absolutely beautiful. All you brothers, man, that are on fire. The water Yahawashi Melshai for you brothers. All right. So this is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 6. It reads, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Right? Continuing to be exposed, man. These devils continuing to be exposed one way or another. Right? And verse 7 says, all the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Right? Absolutely. There is none understanding of Esau, Edom, right? These damn devils continue to defile, pollute the earth and their own people, so on and so forth, right? They absolutely have no regard whatsoever for anybody nor anything, right? Continuing through rape, rob, and pillage, and just a sheer, a God complex, right? You know, always trying to exalt themselves as the Most High. And ultimately, again, their own partners, right? And their own quote unquote affiliates, so on and so forth, right? You know, continuing to turn on them. They're taking a page out of Esau's book. How many agreements have the Babylonians, right, the so-called Americans, right, okay, come into a certain countries only to back out of them or not honor them, right? That goes back before the establishment of the United States as a country as well, right? So continuing on now, again, in verse 8, Obadiah 1 and 8 says, shall I not in that day, saith Adonai Yahawah the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, right? Edom representing Esau of Edom, the so-called self-proclaimed white man. Okay, going back to the lineage of Esau of Edom, not according to appearance. It says, an understanding out of the mount of Esau, right? Mount or mountain representing power, right? Power structure, their governments, and so on and so forth. Verse 9, and thy mighty men, O Teman, which represents the wise men, right? Okay. It says, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, YAHAWAH. Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever right? So again, the wise of the country, man, they're being confounded, right? There you got sleepy, creepy Joe, freaking child sniffing, ice cream eating, freaking pedophile ass making, you know what I mean? Biden over there, man, losing his damn mind, right? And running around with his crackhead son. Okay, these countries got no respect whatsoever, man. Our military is in shambles and so on and so forth. Or their military, I should say, really. But slack you for that. But the point being is that Babylon America is no longer the high horse, that riding on that high horse that they once did, right? No longer considered the world superpower, quote unquote. But for what now? Again, for that violence against that brother Jacob, right? Speaking of Esau of Edom and the violence, Jacob being the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel, the Hebrew Israelites, right? Our forefather Jacob, which came through Abraham and Isaac. So again, that shame is going to cover them. They're going to be cut off forever, point blank, period, right? So like, we'll get rid of this little adder here. All right. So with that, let me check the board real quick before I get to the next article. Okay, we're good. Okay, so we're going to get to the CNN article. Kim Jong-un fires top general, orders North Korean military to gird for war. Right. So again, tires top general, and this was reported from via the South Korean /CNN. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has fired his top general amid a shakeup of the country's military leadership and wants his army to gird for a war, state media reported Thursday. Right. Again, these people are looking to gird up. They're launching all these missiles, ICBM tests, and then ballistic missiles tests, so on and so forth. They're continuing to solidify their ties with one another for what? For war. And it all praises to YAHAWASHI for that, man. Right? Because again, these things are all token signs of the third woe that draweth nigh and the salvation of the elect, the remnant of the nation of Israel. General Pak Soo the second was dismissed as chief of the general staff, and Vice Marshal Ri Yong-gil was appointed in his place, according to the state-run Korean Central News Agency. Other quote-unquote leading commanding officers were dismissed, transferred, or appointed during a meeting of the Central Military Commission on Wednesday, which was reported without going into details, right? More or less, they're getting ousted. They're shaking things up. If you ain't with the program, if you ain't with going to war and girding up for war, you out of there. If you ain't going to you know what I mean, to Kim Jong-un's to that level, if you ain't ready to bring it, you out. Point blank, period. Probably end up in a labor camp. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, Satan be playing games these days, man. All right, cool. So you got AP News reports a top Russian general linked to the head of a rebellious mercenary group, which is Wagner, is reportedly dismissed, right? As you read here, General Sergei Surovikin, it's like I butchered that, a former commander of Russia's forces in Ukraine who was linked to the leader of a brief armed rebellion, which again goes into the Wagner group, has been dismissed as the chief of the Air Force. Right. This was just reported last week on the 23rd. Right. It says Russian state media reported Wednesday after weeks of uncertainty about his fate. So Surovikin, whatever his name is, right? Surovikin had not been seen in public since June of 2023, right? Late June. It says when Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of the Wagner mercenary group, sent his men to march toward Moscow. In a video released during the uprising, Surovikin, who was believed to have close ties to Prigozhin, had urged him to pull the mercenaries back. The Wagner group uprising posed the most serious challenge to President Vladimir Putin of Russia, his 23-year rule, and reports circulated that Surovikin had known about it in advance. Prigozhin called off the rebellion short of reaching Moscow after he said he wanted to avoid bloodshed. But the point being, again, is that he may have known something prior to that, right? He may have been tipped off. He may have known about it. So thus, he's out, point blank, period. Again, who knows, man, to be continued to see if he ends up in a bag somewhere, right? And this is also something to display as well. And that what I'm displaying here, there was something else that I had pulled up. And these damn devils, Esau, is every time you pull up now in the video, brothers can attest to this themselves if they try to do it. You can pull up like a Twitter link, have it pulled up, have it ready to go. And then Esau does this. He'll say that, oh, nothing to see here. This page doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. So you're looking to insert it into a lesson. And these devils just go ahead and do this, right? I literally had it pulled up. I read it a few minutes ago, right? So these devils, that's how you know the famine of the word draweth nigh as well. These devils, YouTube, Twitter, all these devils are going to do what they can to try to throw off the word, right? But nevertheless, we're going to continue to push on. All right. So Salakia, one moment. Let me go ahead and get back to this. Salakia for that. And these devils got to go. These devils got to go. Salakia for that one moment. Your screen share. All right. But yeah, that's how you know the famine of the word draweth nigh. Now, what it more or less was stating was that Russia was looking to annex particular regions, right? So let me make sure I'm good. All right, cool. We straight. And shalom, hey, shalom to the brother, man, lab, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, to your household, brother, to your father, man, your brothers, man, everybody laboring out there in New York City, man. And shalom to the man, lab camp, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, to you, brothers, man. Absolutely. Hey, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. Hey, that's the spirit, man. We'll pull it out right now since the brother already posted it, man. Yep, brother posted up. Joel chapter 3 and verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. That's right, man. So countries that were not known to have such military might and all the resources and so on and so forth, right? You know, these countries are being moved, man, to really build up their military might and so on and so forth, right? So again, what they're looking to allocate, what they were once potentially looking to allocate towards other things, you know, resources of the different types, you know, programs towards, they were really aimed towards the people. Everything's being turned to the military, right? Building up their military might, so on and so forth. So Salakia, let me go ahead and, like I said, Esau playing games over here. Joel 3 and 11 says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, Adawan, YAHAWASHI, right? So the mighty ones, ultimately those that are being put, again, being moved by the spirit of YAHAWASHI, is the Heavenly Father moving the chess pieces, right? He's the one making all these things happen, right? And again, Salakia, if it's slowing down, say, yeah, Esau playing some serious games over here. All right, Salakia, I don't even know if I'm still on. Okay. All right, Salakia for that, brothers. All right, so anyways, what I'm going to pull up here is the definition of annex, right? So annex goes into connect with, right? To bind to tie, to bind, right? Okay. So now what the report was that Russia was looking to bind itself or annex South Ossetia and another region, which I'll go into, right? But first I want to go into this right here. Now, South Ossetia, okay, it says the Republic of South Ossetia, the state of Alania, okay, is partially recognized landlocked state in the South Caucasus, right? The Caucasus Mountains. It says it has an officially state population of just over 56,500, right? So on and so forth, right? But continuing on, it says, as of 2023, only Russia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Nauru, and Syria recognize South Ossetia as a sovereign state. The Georgian government and nearly all United Nations members consider South Ossetia a sovereign territory of Georgia occupied by Russia. Now, this is very big, once again, because these nations, right, that are all more or less aligned with Russia, China, the BRICS nations, so on and so forth, recognize that as its own state, a sovereign state. However, again, the Georgian government, which is also more or less backed by the NATO EU nations, recognize it as a territory of Georgia that is occupied by Russia. Right, so it says the political status of South Ossetia is a central issue of the Georgian-Ossetian conflict and the Georgia-Russia relations. Now it says right here, you know, further down, disbanded, this, that, right? War took place. Now let's go into the geography of this area, right? This per Wikipedia. This is the point, though, the value of this, right? Why this may take place. Okay, so it says right here, at the juncture of Asia and Europe, right? So again, this is a valuable area, if you will, when it comes to war, right? Okay, when it comes to tactics, being able to move in and out of areas, move supplies, so on and so forth, right? So it says it occupies the southern slopes of the Greater Caucasus mountain range and its foothills, which are a part of the Iberia Plain, a geographic plateau that is roughly the center of South Ossetia. The Laiki Range shapes the western geographic boundary of South Ossetia. Although the northwestern corner of South Ossetia is located west of the range, the Greater Caucasus mountain range forms the northern border of Ossetia with Russia. There is only one main road through the mountain range from South Ossetia to Russia, right? So if they capture it, if they join that, if they annex this, right, they gain it's a favorable territory to be in control of in a time of war, right? So continuing on, it says there was only one main road through the mountain range of South Ossetia to Russia, the Transcam Highway through the RAWCHAA Tunnel into North Ossetia, which was completed in 1986. The Transcam section located in South Ossetia is nominally part of the Georgian S10 highway, even though it is effectively does not control that part. It says the RAWCHAA Tunnel was vital for the Russian military in the 2008 South Ossetia War, because it is the only direct route through the Caucasus Mountains between Russia and South Ossetia, right? So again, if they capture this land or they annex this land and take control of it, right, it is favorable to them in a time of war, right? So again, that region being South Ossetia. Now we're going to slide over to the next region, which was stated that the Russians might annex, which is Abkhazia. Okay, Abkhazia. Again, is partially recognized South state in the South Caucasus Mountains on the eastern coast of the Black Sea, at the intersection of Eastern Europe and Western Asia, right? So again, the political status of Abkhazia is a central issue of the Abkhaz-Georgian conflict and Georgia-Russia relations. While Abkhazia has been recognized as an independent state, there you go, key words, right? Independent state, just like South Ossetia recognized as a sovereign state, right? Is an independent state by Russia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Nauru, and Syria. The same countries that recognize South Ossetia as a sovereign state recognize Abkhazia as its independent state, right? It says the Georgian government and nearly all United Nations members states consider Abkhazia a sovereign territory of Georgia, right? So again, lacking effective control over the Abkhazian territory, so on and so forth, right? So let's go down to, once again, geography, right? So let's go down to geography. I believe further down, Slovakia. And this isn't a quote unquote sexy lesson. So for those who are looking for entertainment, Slovakia, this might not be the lesson for you. Well, you know what? I forgot where I read it. It's in this. I'll just kind of paraphrase it with what it was saying. Basically, it's a fertile area. There's bodies of water. There's certain areas that are good for crop growth and things as such. So I mean, it's an area that more or less is profitable again in a time of war, right? In a time where you might need resources and so on and so forth. It does contain natural resources, if you will, right? So not abundantly, but significant, right? Significant. So again, in a time of war, it is a favorable territory to be in control of. All right, let's go back into Obadiah 1:1. It says the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the AHTHA YAHAWAH the Lord concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor, right? That also goes into news, right? We've heard a rumor from AHTHA YAHAWAH the Lord, and an ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. That's right, and that's exactly what's coming to take place here, baby. The third woe. All praises to YAHAWASHI. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised, right? Greatly despised. And that term small also goes into insignificant, right? So again, I have made thee small among the heathen, right? So all these other countries are linking up with each other, solidifying their ties, assisting each other economically, militarily, so on and so forth, right? So again, they're looking to make sure that they completely just oust the West, Babylon, America, so on and so forth, and they're going to sustain each other with the further establishment and strengthening of the BRICS alliance, right? Which again we started off with them welcoming 6 new member nations, right? Officially. Okay, so this is Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 12. It says, for thus saith the AHTHA YAHAWAH the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup has surely drunken, and art thou that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. That's right, man. So just as we drink of that cup, man, they drink of that cup, man. But they're gonna get that double shot. They're gonna get double the recompense, man. They're gonna get that double shot, and hey, man, they're gonna get that real fire water, right? So again, man, they are surely gonna drink of it, man. They are not gonna go unpunished, right? Pursuant to Nahum chapter 1, right? The wicked are not gonna be acquitted, all right? Point blank, period. Jeremiah 49:13, for I have sworn by myself, right? He swore by himself, his holy name of YAHAWASHI, saith the AHTHA YAHAWAH the Lord, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual wastes. That's right, man. So Basra representing Babylon, America, right? And again, perpetual wastes. It shall not be inhabited by human life thereafter, after the second death comes. Verse 14, I have heard a rumor from Adawan Yahawah the Lord, and an ambassador sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. That's right, man. So again, all these people, man, gearing up, girding up for war. Verse 15, for lo, look, L-O meaning look, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. That's right. That's exactly what's happening, man. I get fired up in the spirit. All praises to Yahweh Shem Yahshua for this, baby. Right? This is the best time to be alive. Right? How great is this opportunity to be able to see all these tokens that Yahweh Shem Yahshua is presenting before us, and to know that the kingdom of heaven draweth nigh. Thus, we must continue to do this work and pray that and try to make our calling and election sure to the very best of our ability. Verse 16, thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, thou holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Adawan Yahawah Bashem Yoshai. Right? So again, always exalting themselves, right? You know, the quote unquote house in the hills, right? Always exalting themselves, using that eagle as a representation of their governments, right? And they're symbolic of power, going back to ancient Egypt, right? Going back to different Roman, the Greeks. You look at your U.S., you know, the American quarter. You look at the you know, so on and so forth, man. The American bald eagle, quote unquote, right? You know, that's the quote unquote national bird, right? So I'll continue on in verse 17. Also, Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at the plagues thereof. Right, because they're gonna know Babylon got hit with nothing but nukes, chariot, laser fire, man, and it's gonna be a perpetual waste, as was read. Right, all the plagues thereof, man, it's gonna be astonishing. Verse 18, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Adawan Yahawah the Lord, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Right, because only the desert, doleful creatures, right, desert-like creatures are gonna be able to dwell here. No human life whatsoever will be able to live here in Babylon, America, after the second death, after that lake of fire, right? You know, and now continuing on in a different theater, if you will. Let me check the board real quick. Cool, we good. So now this is from the Hill, right? This is recently, just last week, more or less, about a week ago, U.S. citizens urged to leave Belarus immediately, right? So it says the Biden administration is urging U.S. citizens in Belarus to depart the country immediately and warned against travel there in a statement published of last week. Now it says the security alert comes after bordering countries Lithuania, Latvia, and Poland have stepped up security along the border over concerns about Russia Wagner mercenary forces exiled in the country. Now get this right here. It says the State Department in its warning encouraged Americans still in Belarus to depart the country immediately and categorize the country as a level 4 risk, the highest security warning, right? Because Belarus, again, and I believe it's Alexander Lukashenko, right? Lukashenko being the president, right, of more or less a dictator, what's also known as, right, what he's been called. Anyways, the leader of Belarus, right? He's tight with Putin, right? And he's housing nuclear capable weapons and so on and so forth. Right, he's definitely an ally, right? Okay, and they're looking to Russia as a major ally as well, right? So again, they're hand in hand with everything that the Russians are looking to do and the narrative that they're pushing, right? So again, the Russia being the guard pursuant to Ezekiel chapter 38. This is Ezekiel chapter 26 and verse 2. Son of man, because that Tyrus, which is also a representation of Babylon, America, because that Tyrus has said against Jerusalem, aha, she is broken. That was the gates of the people. She is turned unto me. I shall be replenished. Now she is laid waste, right? Because that's all these devils do, right? Look to rape, rob, and pillage and steal natural resources and continue to implement or install their shadow puppet governments and so on and so forth. Continue to always look to look to always have the upper hand, the advantage, and everything. And again, everything and everyone is expendable to these devils, man. Right. So continuing in Ezekiel 26 and 3. Therefore, thus saith the Adawan Yahawah, the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Tyrus, and will cause many nations to come up against thee, as the sea causeth his waves to come up. and they shall destroy the walls of Tyrus and break down her towers. I will also scrape her dust from her and make her like the top of a rock. It shall be a place for the spreading of nets in the midst of the sea. For I have spoken it, saith the Adawan Yahawah, the Lord power, and it shall become a spoil to the nations. Right? So again, got to be broken down, man. Right? Heavenly Father is against it, man, like a wave crashing against it, right? You can't stop that current. You can't stop that momentum, right? And again, I'll scrape her dust from her, right? Everything, absolutely everything gonna get lit up, right? And should never, again, be established, man, as a power, right? Because again, the coming of Hamashiach Yahawashi, while the holy angels, the establishment of a righteous kingdom, man, that's the end of Esau, Edom, man, these other nations, man, their reign. That's it, man. This is their heaven. This is their time. And it's drawing soon to a close. I don't know if the hour one day closer to that. And then they're going to be spoiled. They're going to become the spoil, right? Starting with Esau of Edom. Continuing in verse 6, and her daughters which are in the field shall be slain by the sword, and they shall know that I am Adawan Yahawah the Lord. For thus saith Adawan Yahawah the Lord power, behold, I will bring upon Tyrus Nebuchadnezzar, a king of Babylon, a king of kings from the north, with horses and with chariots and with horsemen and companies and much people, and he shall slay with the sword thy daughters in the field, and he shall make a fort against thee, and cast a mount against thee, and lift a buckler against thee. Right? So again, here in these latter days, you're going to see that nations coming against nation, and in particular against Babylon, America, right? So verse 9 says, and he shall set engines of war against thy walls, and with his axes he shall break down thy towers, right? So, and they're going to come down and they're going to get it heavy. They're going to get that heavy, everything, the nuclear arsenals and all the hypersonic ICBM missiles and everything that the Heavenly Father has ultimately willed to be created. Okay, those weapons of war, all those arrows, they're going to be shot off, man. Spare no arrows, roughly paraphrasing the scripture. Right, continuing on in verse 10, by reason of the abundance of his horses, their dust shall cover thee. Thy walls shall shake at the noise of the horsemen and of the wheels and of the chariots, when he shall enter into thy gates, as men enter into a city wherein is made a breach, an opening. Right? So it says, with the hoofs of his horses shall he tread down all thy streets. He shall slay thy people by the sword, and thy strong garrisons shall go down to the ground. And they shall make a spoil of thy riches, and make a prey of thy merchandise, and they shall break down thy walls, and destroy thy pleasant houses, and they shall lay thy stones and thy timber and thy dust in the midst of the water. So everything will be spoiled and destroyed. All praises to Yahawashi for that. It says verse 13, and I will cause the noise of thy songs to cease, and the sound of thy harps shall no more be heard. That's right, man. So again, the mirth in the land is gone, man, and everything is coming soon to a close, right? And all praises to Yahawashi for that. Now let's dive into an article going into that again, right? It says Insider Paper reports Russia and North Korea aim for closer cooperation, which was reported in the past couple of weeks here. Russia and North Korea advocated closer collaboration, including in the defense sector. The latest show of deepening ties between the countries at odds with the United States. Moscow and Pyongyang, which is North Korea, right? I believe that's the capital, Pyongyang. Then it says both increasingly isolated from the West and weighted with sanctions have drawn closer, since the Kremlin deployed troops to Ukraine and commenced large-scale hostilities last year. And that's verbatim. It says North Korean leaders Kim Jong-un, quote unquote, stressed the need to further develop tactical and strategic cooperation and interaction between the two countries in the fields of defense and security. The country, and that's per their defense minister, right? Continuing on now, it says Russian President Vladimir Putin stated he called for deeper ties in a congratulatory message to Kim Jong-un, making his country's National Liberation Day. Now it says, quote unquote, marking his country's National Liberation Day. Now it says, I am sure that he will continue to build up a bilateral cooperation in all areas for the benefit of our peoples, so both nations, in the interests of strengthening stability and security on the Korean Peninsula and in the Northeast Asian region as a whole, right? Because again, what's going on in the Northeast, right? They are launching missiles ballistic missile tests, launching missiles over Japan, right, and everything that's going on with the Philippines and the Thai, right, Thailand, so on and so forth, man. So a lot of these nations, man, are gearing up. They're getting ready, right? So again, continuing on now, it says, it says Putin said it was Korea's liberation from Japan and harsh wartime, quote unquote, that groundwork was laid for close cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang, right? So again, that was a liberation. It says it was during Korea's liberation from Japan and harsh wartime, right? So thus stating, hey, like we recognize that, the harsh wartime that you had endured and you're fighting with the Japanese, right? Of course, the Japanese looking to continue to gain favor by the U.S. and the NATO, EU nations, and so on and so forth, right? The beast system. So again, they're looking to solidify ties with North Korea. And all praises to YAHAWASHI for that, right? As we read here, inside a paper, North Korea scrambled warplanes over U.S. spy plane intrusion, right? So recently reported, says North Korean military said Friday, and this was, mind you, reported on the 18th of August, okay, just over a week ago, has scrambled warplanes in response to what described as an intrusion by a U.S. spy plane. The U.S. aircraft flew into airspace above North Korea's economic zone and waters east of the country. Okay, now it says right here, that was per a military spokesman. It says the North Korean military, quote unquote, promptly gave an order to pursuit planes to make an emergency sortie toward the airspace intruded by the U.S. strategic reconnaissance plane, recon. As it says, and carry on an alert guard duty. It also says, described it as a dangerous military provocation. Woo-wee. So, yeah, man, provoking, man, provocative, man. You're poking the beast, man, poking the bear, right? As they say. It says, and warned that the North Korean military, quote unquote, will not hesitate to take any physical counteraction to defend the sovereignty, aka we'll light you up if we need to. Right. Last month, North Korea threatened to shoot down any U.S. spy planes that violated its airspace, accusing Washington of, quote unquote, intensified espionage activities beyond wartime level. Right. AKA, hey, you guys keep messing with it, man. Y'all doing some dirty dirt right here. All right. And they about to get lit up for it. Right. It's pretty much what they're saying. The North Korean statement about the alleged spy plane intrusion came as the leaders of the U.S., Japan, and South Korea prepared to hold a summit at Camp David. Right. So again, all these countries nearby that have affiliation with the U.S. again being South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, right, Japan, so on and so forth. So again, everything that's taking place in the quote unquote Indo-Pacific region, right? There's also the counter, to that, right? So again, man, it's a beautiful time that we're living in. And all praises to YAHAWASHI for that, right? Let me check the portal quick. All right. Hey, shalom. Tell your brother you want to thumb a car. YAHAWASHI brakatah. Watam to you and your household, brother. Barakim tamyah. Blessings always. All right. So yeah, we're going to continue on with that insider paper. North Korea lashes out at U.S. calls defectors scum, quote unquote. Reading this verbatim. It says North Korea lashed out at the UN for accusing of Pyongyang regime of widespread systematic human rights violations, and they had called North Korean defectors who had escaped from hardships, quote unquote, human scum, according to the state media. Now it says right here, says the name calling came after the nuclear arms state was held accountable at the UN Security Council meeting on Thursday for spending heavily on its nuclear arms program, while its people go hungry and lack basic necessities, right? Now it says right here, El Kim, I'm probably mispronounced that, Slakia, a North Korean defector, told the council that he had been forced at a young age to work in the fields without compensation, and that the grain they grew all went to the military, quote unquote. The government turns our blood and sweat into a luxurious life for the leadership and missiles that blast our hard work into the sky. It says the money spent on just one missile could feed us for 3 months, right? So again, man, they're looking to do what? And fulfill biblical prophecy, right? As the brother Man Lab posted up earlier, I get that again from Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near and let them come up, right? And that's the time we're living in. Again, all these countries that are gearing up and girding up for war. Verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and you're pruning hooks into spears, right? Everything you would allocate toward other programs, right? You're going to allocate towards the military. Let the weak say, I am strong. That's the mindset that they're having. And again, that's all a testament to biblical prophecy as well. And that, again, I'll mention Ezekiel 38, right? And these other nations, the BRICS alliance, so on and so forth, that are backing these nations militarily and economically. Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O YAHAWASHI, right? He's stirring the pot. All praises to YAHAWASHI for that. This is Isaiah 10 and 33 in the NLT, the New Living Translation. But look, the Lord of heaven's armies, will chop down the mighty tree of Assyria with great power, right? Referring to Babylon, America, right? It says he will cut down the proud. That lofty tree will be brought down, right? So again, man, these scriptures, can hold, numerous meanings in the sense that, it could apply to something that already took place aforetime, yet something that can also take place, a future prophecy, right? That's the beauty of YAHAWASHI and these parables and these dark sayings, quote unquote, right? As the scriptures say. So again, the point being, he's going to cut off the proud, that lofty tree, right? That mountain, that symbol of power, right? These governments and so on and so forth are going to be brought down quick, fast, and in a hurry. They're going to be chopped down, right? So now let's go ahead and switch it over to the KJV and bring it out. Isaiah 10 and 33 in the KJV. Behold, YAHAWAH, the Lord of hosts, right, the Lord of armies, shall lop the bough with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, shall be cut down, and the haughty, right, shall be humbled, right, the proud, right. So again, those devils, man, they are going to be humbled, right. And let's get this right here from Insider Paper. North Korea says Japan must immediately call off Fukushima water release, right. So recently, Japan released contaminated nuclear waste, if you will, contaminated water into the ocean, right? So again, there's a lot of countries that were rather pissed about that, right? So again, North Korea being one of them. It says right here, again, the stern, they must immediately call off that water release. And Japan must immediately call off the release of wastewater from the disaster hit Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean. States their foreign ministry of North Korea, Japan must immediately call off the dangerous discharge of nuclear contaminated water that seriously threatens the security and future of mankind, right? And also, Insider Paper, Japan releases water from Fukushima nuclear plant, China furious. All right, so it says here, Japan began releasing wastewater from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean on Thursday, prompting a furious China to ban all seafood imports from its neighbor. The start of the discharge started of around 540 Olympic swimming pools worth of water over several decades, and a big step in decommissioning the still highly dangerous site 12 years after one of the world's worst nuclear accidents. Live video provided by plant operator TEPCO showed two engineers clicking on computer mouses and saying an official saying after a countdown that the valves near the seawater transport pumps are opening. Japan has repeatedly insisted the wastewater is treated and will be harmless, a position backed by UN atomic watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. Right, so again, backed by who? UN, right? UN, Babylon, America, NATO, EU, so on and so forth, right? So it says here, the IAEA said on Thursday that the new on-test site had confirmed the levels of radioactive tritium in the water being discharged were safe. But China has warned the release will contaminate the ocean and immediately responded Thursday by blasting Japan as, quote unquote, extremely selfish. It then banned all Japanese seafood imports to comprehensively prevent the food safety risks of radioactive contamination, with Japan hours later demanding China lift the ban. All praise to YAHAWASHI for that, right? They're going to get stuck with all that contaminated seafood, man. As it says right here, North Korea's foreign ministry likewise criticized the release, urging Japan to call it off, right? So a furious Japan, North Korea, these countries ain't having it, right? Let's go ahead and check this right here from WION.
Now, the anger against Japan's release of treated radioactive water is growing. Both China and South Korea are livid. The protesters gathered in the capital of South Korea, and the protesters are demanding that the government should in fact take steps to avoid What they fear is a potential disaster from Japan's release of treated radioactive water that is contaminated with tritium from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. About 30,000 people, in fact, joined in the protest.
Yep, so you get the point, right? So China, North Korea, China, North Korea, South Korea, they're all livid. They're all pissed about that, right? Revelation 11:18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give them reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and then that fear thy name, small and great, right? So the recompense coming to the remnant, the elect, those who have perished in the names of YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI, right? So on and so forth. So those who are predestined for that salvation and ultimately election through the powers of YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI, right? But again, the nations were angry, not only with Babylon America, but with one another, right? And it says, and shouldest destroy them that which destroy the earth, right, man? So again, the Heavenly Father, man, ultimately through the powers of the only begotten Son, the holy chariots, tabernacle of David, right? They're going to destroy them which destroy the earth. And all praises to YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI for that, right? So let's continue on. This is from zerohedge.com. Kim Jong-un, about a week ago, reported Kim Jong-un oversees a cruise missile test from warship in response to U.S. drills. So it says, days after the U.S., Japan, and South Korea sealed a new three-way security pact at a summit overseen by President Biden at Camp David, North Korea has answered with a fresh missile test today. Right, so it says the U.S. and South Korea have also just kicked off another 10-day joint drill. Right, so it says right here, yeah, these are photos of a missile test being fired off of the North Korean East Coast. Right, so it says right here, Kim was aboard the vessel and highly praised the ship for maintaining high mobility and mighty situation. Right, so again, here further on, it says the statement underscored the carrying out the attack mission in actual war. Right, so exactly, they are looking to prepare for war. They're girding for war. Right, so again, continue on now. In the same article, it says Biden. I'll just go this. The precise date of the new test wasn't disclosed, but it may have happened concurrently to or just after the Biden hosted trilateral meeting summit involving President Yoon Suk Yeol of South Korea and Prime Minister Fumio Kishida of Japan. Biden had held the summit as a big deal and a historic meeting, right? And President Kishida of Japan also remarked that, quote unquote, we are indeed making a new history as of today, right? So again, all these things are being, ultimately the Heavenly Father is stirring up the spirits, right? He's stirring up these spirits, and all praises to YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI for that, man. Now it says here, the trilateral Camp David meeting had urged the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, calling programs while condemning its unprecedented number of ballistic missile launch. Right, let's look at InsidePaper.com. U.S. drills could trigger thermonuclear war, North Korean media reports. Right, so again, here, North Korea's state news agency last week warned that joint military drills between the South and the United States could trigger a quote unquote thermonuclear war. All praises to YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI. Right, it says reported the ULCHI or ULCHI Freedom Shield military drills, a major joint exercise between Seoul and Washington, which is again their capitals of South Korea and America, of course, that started Tuesday as having an aggressive character. That's right, man, having an aggressive character. And these devils, man, they're looking to push it, man, and ultimately the Heavenly Father is looking to push this spirit, man. All praises. This is Psalm 120, verse 1, and the subtitle reads, Prayer for Deliverance from the Treacherous. That's right. Now it's Psalm 21. In my distress, I cried unto AHTHA YAHAWAH the Lord, and he heard me. Deliver my soul, O AHTHA YAHAWAH, from lying lips and from a deceitful tongue. That's right, man. Lying lips and sweet nothings, right? So on and so forth. All the things that they're going to promise you and try to entice you and enchant, you know, and persuade you to believe, man, all the vanity, right? They're going to try to sell, you know, these quote unquote build back better and so on and so forth, man. All that other folly, foolishness that means absolutely nothing, right? So again, we need to be delivered from that. I don't want to desire, Lord's will. We're one day closer to that, and we be of that number, humbly speaking. Psalm 120:3. What shall be given unto thee, or what shall be done unto thee, thou false tongue? Sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of juniper. That's right, man. Sharp arrows of the mighty one. All praises to YAHAWASHI for that, man. And I pulled up this in the GNT as well, per BibleHub.com. This is Psalm 120:1. Subtitle reads it, Prayer for Help. It says, when I was in trouble, I called out of one YAHAWAH the Lord, and he answered me. Save me out of one YAHAWAH from liars and deceivers. You liars, what will the Most High do to you? How will he punish you? With a soldier's sharp arrows, with red hot coals. That's right, man. That's exactly what's coming in the form of hypersonic and ICBM missiles and that laser chariot fire, baby. All praises to YAHAWASHI. Right? This is insiderpaper.com reporting. Israel says U.S. okays landmark missile defense deal with Germany. All right, so I'll show you here. So the U.S. had approved a landmark sale of Arrow 3 hypersonic missile defense system to Germany in the country's biggest military deal worth $3.5 billion. The Arrow 3 system, designed to shoot down ballistic missiles above the Earth's atmosphere, is jointly developed and produced by Israel and the United States. Right, so this is the state of Israel, the little hats. Okay. So it says right here, Israel's defense ministry said the U.S. State Department had notified it of the U.S.'s government approval for Germany to procure the Arrow 3 system, right? And it says right here, the Israeli Ministry of Defense, German Federal Ministry of Defense, and Israel Aerospace Industries will sign the landmark $3.5 billion defense agreement. Okay, now further down. Okay, now it says right here, yep, with its exceptional long-range interception capabilities operating at high altitudes above the atmosphere, the Arrow 3 stands as the top interceptor of its kind. Right? It says the system employs a hit-to-kill approach for intercepting incoming threats. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the agreement the largest defense sale in Israel's history. And so again, they're continuing to do what, man? These NATO, EU nations and everyone that's in bed with each other, right? The beast system, they're going to continue to solidify, you know, their ties as well, right? So the Heavenly Father has it working on both sides, right? They're looking to aid each other, and Germany is definitely looking to continue to do that on the other side as well. Thus, that deal went through, right? That's why that deal went through, right? So now, as you read InsiderPaper.com, Iran Foreign Minister touts unity on first Saudi visit since ties restored. Iran's top diplomat preached unity and a dialogue during a visit to Saudi Arabia on Thursday, his first since the two Middle East rivals announced a surprise rapprochement in March, right? It's like, if I'm mispronouncing that, rapprochement. It's like a rapprochement. Now it says right here, Hossein Amir Abdollahian says also took the opportunity to reiterate the Islamic Republic's support for the Palestinian cause at a time when Riyadh is in discussions with the United States about potentially normalizing ties with Israel. Ties between the Sunni majority Saudi Arabia and Shiite majority Iran are progressing in the right direction. Amir Abdollahian told reporters at a press conference with his Saudi counterpart, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, touting economic and security cooperation without announcing any new agreements. There you go, right? Economic and security cooperation. It says Thursday's meeting in the Saudi Foreign Ministry Islamic Solidarity Hall, quote unquote, will be a prelude to the meeting of the heads of the two countries, he said, without specifying when President Ibrahim Raisi would visit Saudi Arabia at King Salman's invitation. We are sure that these meetings and cooperation will help the unity of the Islamic world, he added, proposing a regional dialogue, but providing no details. And so again, with Syria and whatnot, and these different nations coming together, right? The Saudis, the Iranians, and so on and so forth, all these nations coming together, right? Over there, ultimately, many of them will be looking to come into the fold of the BRICS nations, right? Which they already have, of course, right? You see the UAE, you see Egypt, you see Saudi Arabia, so on and so forth. So again, they're continuing to build up their ties, right? Of course, you saw again what we read about that $13 billion deal, right, with between the Saudis and the Chinese, right, as far as that goes. So again, you're going to continue to see that here in these latter days, right? That's right here from Twitter realm Sprinter at Sprinter 99800. I recommend this for brothers and sisters that may be looking into potentially edifying material, right? That links up with biblical prophecy. Check out this handle, Sprinter 99800 on the Twitter realm. It's Twitter/X. I still call it Twitter. All right, so it says unusual U.S. troop movements in Iraq, serious spark speculation. Iraqi forces suggest that U.S. forces occupying eastern Syria are planning an operation to cut off the last border crossing with Iraq under Damascus control. And as you see here, right, a lot of U.S. military equipment. Now, in this particular tweet, right, I'm not sure if I can pull it up. Let me see if I can through the spirit. Yeah, right here, he's taking a drive, and you see all this U.S. Military equipment. Right, I'm sure the supplies and different, certain things that are being transported. Right, over here, same thing. You see a lot of U.S. military equipment being moved around the area. So obviously they got something cooking over there. And again, that's not being taken lightly by the Russians, the Chinese, and so on and so forth. Those who are acknowledging what's taking place on Syrian soil, being the attacks on the Iranians or Iranians, however you like to pronounce it, right, by the U.S. and the little hats, the Israelis, right? So let me check the board real quick before I continue on. Okay, looks like we're good. All right. So this is Jeremiah 49:20. It says, therefore, hear the counsel of Adonai Yahawah the Lord, that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So, right, and that's referring to the nation, the state of Israel, the Israelis, right? So again, that's the least of the flock. That's going to draw out Babylon, America into the Third World War, right? So let's continue on now. This is Democracy Now!
The Biden administration has approved the sale of an additional $500 million in military hardware to Taiwan. Arms maker Lockheed Martin, which builds F-16 fighter jets used by Taiwan's military. This comes just weeks after the U.S. approved a weapons aid package to Taiwan worth up to $345 million. In recent months, China's military has increased its activities around Taiwan, sending fighter jets and warships closer to the island, which Beijing considers part of its sovereign territory.
Yep. So again, the Heavenly Father has things turning up, right? And again, a lot of these, Salakia, one moment. Salakia, and I lost my spot here. One moment, Salakia, for that. There we go. Salakia for that. Salakia. All right. Yeah. So this is for insiderpaper.com. Right. It says U.S. approved sale to upgrade Taiwan war jets. Right. Okay. So it says right here, approved the sale of Taiwan advanced sensor equipment for fighter jets, the latest upgrade as fears rise over China. Right. So again, informed Congress of the $500 million sale of F-16 infrared search and track systems and related equipment to help Taiwan, quote unquote, maintain a credible defense capability. Right. So the sale will help Taiwan meet current and future threats by contributing to the recipient's abilities to defend its airspace, provide regional security, and increase interoperability with the United States through its F-16 program. Right. So again, these devils are pretty much looking to shell off all that stuff. Right. Okay. And they've been doing this for decades, right? Going on to sell the Taiwanese, right? But again, Taiwan also is a major producer of chips, right? Different processing chips and so on and so forth that are used in satellites and weaponry and so on and so forth, right? Missile guidance systems, right? So Taiwan is a valuable asset and ally of ultimately, again, a strong ally of the U.S. in that sense, right? It's a valuable asset. And to say, for a lack of better words. right? So continuing on in that same sense, right? You have the U.S. approves sending F-16s to Ukraine from Denmark and the Netherlands, right? So they're sending F-16 jets to the Ukraine, right? There was speculation that that would take place, and there was rumors and so on and so forth. But now ultimately it is going to happen. It is going to take place, and again from Denmark and the Netherlands. So obviously, you have the Dutch and also Holland, however you like to pronounce it, but the Netherlands thus, and Denmark, okay, all NATO EU affiliates, members and whatnot. So again, right, they're all in bed with that B system, right? And why? Insiderpaper.com, U.S. to begin training Ukraine F-16 pilots in September per the Pentagon, right? So again, it says says these pilots will be conducting English language training at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas in September, prior to attending F-16 flying training in Arizona, right? So again, they're sending the jets over there and they're going to start training them right then and there. Yeah, they're going to get it. They're going to keep it popping, right? Insiderpaper.com. U.S. approves $12 billion in Apache helicopter sale to Poland, right? So it says right here that they've approved $12 billion sales worth of Apache helicopters to Poland, right? Again, a giant deal with a frontline ally supporting Ukraine in its war against the Russian invasion. Poland will receive 96 AH-64E Apache attack helicopters from their manufacturer Boeing, right? Per the State Department. Okay, so that's going to be an upgrade over Soviet era, helicopters and whatnot that they've, since, they want to move on from, of course. So continuing on, it says the sale will, quote unquote, improve Poland's capability to meet current and future threats by providing a credible force that is capable of deterring adversaries and participating in NATO operations, right? So again, they're looking to strengthen their NATO ally. Poland has robustly supported U.S.-led efforts to support Ukraine against the Russian onslaught, and this is all verbatim, with a large portion of the billions of dollars in U.S. weapons provided to Ukraine crossing the border through Poland, right? So many of these arms and supplies and everything's being funneled through Poland, right? So it says Poland announced in January that it plans to spend 4% of its GDP, the gross domestic product, on defense this year, well above the NATO target of 2%. In June, it received the first Abrams tanks as part of a $1.4 billion deal for the combat vehicles previously used by the U.S. Marine Corps. Last year, Poland bought another 250 Abrams and a more modern M1A2 variant, which are expected to be delivered in late 2024. AHTHA. We are out of here before that. All right, Lord's will. AHTHA. It says it will be the first country outside the U.S. with the tanks, right? So again, that's another thing, right? These devils are they're counting their chickens before they hatch. Lord's will, we get nowhere near late 2024. All right, so continuing on, again, the point being that these devils are looking to wheel and deal and always looking to, have the upper hand and make the best of a situation, right? Always looking to, make a few bucks here and there. What's the old saying? Something about let no disaster go to waste, right? Don't let a catastrophe go to waste or something like that. Roughly paraphrasing that. So it says in Proverbs 4:14, it says, enter not into the path of the wicked and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it and pass away. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. That's right, man. So a lot of these people, man, build back better, right? All gung-ho about their American military and so on and so forth, right? From, proud Americans, quote unquote, right? So on and so forth. All those people that believe in that quote unquote American dream, right? All that's for naught, right? That's a wicked path, right? These are evil men, right? Wicked devils, man. Right. So again, we are not to follow that route. We are to turn from it, pass not by it. Don't be going along to get along and so on and so forth. No, man. We pray for the return of our Lord and Savior and for the salvation for the remnant, the elect of the nation, and the destruction of Babylon, America. Right. That's what we hope and pray for. We hasten the day, the return of our Lord and Savior. Verse 16, again, for they sleep not, except they have done mischief, right? They're constantly devising ways to undermine the people, right? And make the, come out on top one way or another, right? Coming under the guise of one thing or another. But at the end of the day, they're just using these little things, right? They're just giving out crumbs from the table to appease those who are willing to ultimately be fooled, man, by the okie doke, man. And it's YAHAWASHI that's really doing that. So again, they're constantly causing others to fall, eating that bread of wickedness and drinking the wine of violence, always looking to come out on top, man, and always looking to perpetuate violence and war, so on and so forth, right? Continuing on, Australia agrees to buy new long-range missiles from the U.S. per insider paper. Now it says right here, Australia has locked in a deal to buy potent long-range weapons from the United States, okay, as the country looks to counter China's rising military power. It says the catch of more than 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles costing $830 million would be some of the most powerful and technologically advanced weapons in Australia's arsenal, the country's defense department said. Right. So again, they're looking to, because they are nuclear capable, of course, which we'll go into, right? I don't know AHTHA. So they're looking to further establish themselves as a nuclear power and a country that is not only capable of defending itself, but also going on the offensive, right? So it says, quote unquote, we are investing in the capabilities our defense force needs to hold our adversaries at risk further from our shores and keep Australians safe in the complex and uncertain world in which we live today, per the Defense Minister Richard Marles. And it says the Tomahawk cruise missiles have a strike range of more than 1,000 kilometers or kilometers, 620 miles, and will be carried by the Australian Navy's Hobart-class destroyers. And it says they will eventually be used by the roving nuclear-powered submarines acquired by Australia under the landmark AUKUS Pact, AUKUS Pact. And it says the AUKUS allies, Australia's AUKUS allies, the UK and the US, are the only other countries with significant stockpiles of Tomahawk missiles, right? So, and just for edification, Slovakia, AUKUS, AUKUS, okay, it's an acronym for the Trilateral Security Pact between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, announced in September of 2021 for the Indo-Pacific region. Under the pact, the U.S. and the U.K. will assist Australia in acquiring nuclear-powered submarines. The pact also includes cooperation on advanced cyber mechanisms, artificial intelligence and autonomy, quantum technologies, undersea capabilities, hypersonic and counter-hypersonic, electronic warfare, innovation, and information sharing. Right. So thus, they are in a complete, again, sustaining each other militarily, right, and making sure that they have that they are very well capable of also taking offensive actions, right, so on and so forth. So again, well, that's pretty much sums up like the meat of this article. I just wanted to, as you read further down, right, we are buying these weapons now to deliver capability quickly, right, so on and so forth. So it also says right here, but we are also considering options to manufacture missiles domestically because of the importance of building sovereign Australian defense manufacturing capabilities. The U.S. Army has in recent years tested prototype hypersonic cruise missiles at the Australian Defence Force weapons range in remote South Australia, right? So again, this is a very important ally, right, for the U.S. and the U.K., right? Further on, Australia's biggest warship deployed in the Philippine drills, right? This was reported about a week ago, right? So again, Australia's largest warship took part in joint drills with the Philippines and the U.S. in the disputed South China Sea on Monday, as they seek to strengthen defense ties in the face of China's growing military presence. China deploys hundreds of Coast Guard, Navy, and other vessels to patrol and militarized reefs in the contested waters, which it claims almost entirely despite an international ruling that its position has no legal basis. Right, so it says more than 2,000 troops from Australia and the Philippines are taking part, did take part, if you will, wrapping that up here, okay, in the next coming days, in air, sea, and land exercises. About 150 U.S. Marines are also participating, or have participated both, right? So again, that's pretty much the meat of it. It says such exercises were quote unquote critical because though we are putting our words into action, right? Speaking of, again, them building their alliances and so on and so forth, right? The U.S., Japan, and Australia will also hold joint naval exercises off the Philippines, which they have already done so and are finishing up, if you will, right? So again, they're looking to continue to make a few bucks off this thing, right? Being Babylon America. This is Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 14 and verse 4. He that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others, that shall spend his goods riotously, right? Again, defrauding his own soul, right? Again, he that gathereth by defrauding his own soul shall gathereth for others, that shall spend his goods riotously, right? He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods, right? Insatiable, no matter how much these devils have, right? Speaking of Esau of Edom primarily, right? It's never enough, right? It's never enough. They're always looking to attain more and more, right? It is never enough, and it will never be until these devils are taken out of power. And I don't know, AHTHA, again, we are one day closer to that. But again, the point being, they're defrauding themselves and others, right? You know, they're not good to themselves. They're not really genuinely going to have the best interest for others. And that includes their own affiliates. And that has been proven time and time again. Verse 6, Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 14 and 6. There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. That's right, man. Yeah, these devils, they're that wicked, man. They envy themselves, and that's a form of that recompense, man, for their hatred, for their sheer just the root of all evil, man. You know what I mean? Salakia for that, but just, these devils gotta go. Salakia. And verse 7 says, if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness, right? Always got an agenda, always doing something, under a guise, right? It's deceitful, man, very deceitful. And they're always looking to entice and enchant and persuade people to believe a certain narrative or something as such, like they genuinely have your own best interest in that, when really they have there's their own ill-gotten gain behind it, right? Verse 8 says, the envious man hath a wicked eye, he turneth away his face and despiseth men. Sorry, man. So again, they have that wicked eye, man, right? They have that wicked eye towards everyone and themselves, right? He turneth away his face and despiseth men, right? Because they really hate everybody and themselves, right? In verse 9, a covetous man, it's like a covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drieth up his soul. That's right. So again, right, a covetous man, ill-gotten gain. These devils are looking to just shell off, try to manufacture a bunch of weapons, this, that, and the third, and always looking to, they see that all these nations are being willing to come to them in that time, and again, they're looking to promote that wickedness and that narrative and so on and so forth, man. So what's the old saying, right? A war machine, right? A war machine, right? So it's a machine. They see it as productive, right? So on and so forth. So again, they're looking to benefit off that. Always have, always will, until the end, right? So let's go ahead and go into this out of pbs.org, and I'll go into the stage, the theater, if you will, right? Because this is just just a wartime. World War I, World War II. A lot of different conflicts have been fought in several stages, theaters, different parts of the world simultaneously, right? World War II being a prime example of that, right? So what's taking place right now is the brewing conflict between Niger and now what began as Niger ousting the French, right? Looking to oust the French from their land, right? Because again, that was once a French territory, right? So now Niger looking to oust the French from their territory, from their country, right? And ultimately do away with all the affiliations and so on and so forth, right? And then in comes ECOWAS, right, which is a collective, of Western African states, right, like a body, an alliance, if you will, right, who are backed by the NATO EU nations, which Niger is backed by China, Russia, and ultimately the BRICS nations, right. In particular, here coming to the aid of them will be AHTHA, who have stated their willingness to do so, is Burkina Faso and Mali. Right. And both of those countries, again, have ties as well. Burkina Faso and Mali have ties and agreements with China and or Russia collectively, or, just to paraphrase, just to kind of sum it up, just for context. Right. So Niger, I read the title here. Niger's neighbors running out of options as defense chiefs discuss potential military force, right? This was reported just over a week ago. So here, West African defense chiefs they met to discuss the crisis in Niger after coup leaders ignored their deadline to step down, right? It says right here, Niger's democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum was overthrown in July and remains under house arrest with his wife and son in the capital, Niamey, or Niamey, however you like to pronounce that. Now it says defense chiefs from the West African regional bloc ECOWAS were meeting in Ghana to discuss the next steps in their stated goal of restoring Bazoum. All right, so more or less looking to take action, militarily if needed. Now it says this is the first meeting since ECOWAS ordered the deployment of a standby force last week to restore constitutional rule in the country of Niger. It's unclear if or when troops would intervene. A force would likely consist of several thousand soldiers from Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Senegal, and Benin, and could take weeks or months to prepare, say conflict experts, right? And one point to also add is you had people in Senegal protesting, and it got violent. They were violently protesting against their own government because they don't want to see their military come in and participate against Niger, against what's happening in Niger, right? So their own people were pissed and protesting violently against their own government because of their willingness to participate on behalf, again, of ECOWAS and the NATO EU nations and Babylon America, so on and so forth, right? So it's just further stirring up conflict in the region. And it says right here, ECOWAS has a poor track record in stemming the region's rampant coups. Neighboring Burkina Faso and Mali have each had 2 within the last 3 years. Niger's coup was seen by the international community and ECOWAS as one too many. And in addition, threatening a military invasion, the bloc has imposed severe economic and travel sanctions. But as time drags on with no military action and a standstill in negotiations, the junta is entrenching its power, leaving ECOWAS with few choices. Quote unquote, ECOWAS has a few good options, particularly as the junta seems unwilling for the moment to cede to outside pressure. Okay, and this is per Andrew Lebovich, right? Okay, and it says any intervention could backfire and damage the organization in numerous ways, while a failure to extract major concessions from the junta could weaken the organization politically as an already fragile time, right? At an already fragile time. That's right. So if they continue, if they make an attempt and they fail, that's going to further be a detriment to their credibility and within the international community, if you will, right? So many different things are at stake here, man, right? So continuing on, it says the top security body of the African Union met Monday to decide whether it would support a military intervention, but it's yet to make a public decision, right? So continuing on, now says that AU's peace and security control could overrule a military intervention if it felt wider stability of the continent was threatened by it. If it rejects the use of force, there are few grounds under which ECOWAS could claim legal justification, right? But on Thursday, Abdel Fattah Moussa, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Peace and Security, told reporters that the bloc was working with the United Nations on Niger's situation and, quote unquote, didn't need any approval from the Security Council to find a solution to the crisis, right? AKA, we're going to do what we got to do, right? We're not going to need the approval of the UN, right? Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do what's in our best interest at the end of the day. So though they are backed by the NATO, UN, EU nations, so on and so forth, again, if they find it within their own, hey, to their betterment, to what they want to do, they're gonna go ahead and do so, right? So again, the situation is rather sensitive at this time, right? And continue on here per voanews.com, right? I had a video clip pulled up, but again, Esau playing games with X/Twitter, when you're trying to link it up and include certain things in the lessons. So I have to keep an eye on that going forward. Anyways, this is from voanews.com. New Niger rally as deadline looms for French envoy's exit. And as you see here, that they were hoisting Russian flags, BRICS nations. There was another video that showed them lifting up a North Korean flag, right? So you have them that are on board with the BRICS and BRICS nations, man, right? So again, just I'll read it from Niamey, Niger. It says thousands of people demonstrated in Niger in support of last month's coup a few hours before the deadline given to France's ambassador and an ultimatum to leave the country. Demonstrators gathered near the French military base in the capital of Niamey, or Niamey, however you like to pronounce it, some waving Nigerian or Russian flags, others with placards calling for the departure of French troops, right? And there was a video that I saw, a man was talking about it, basically saying, trying to give him an ultimatum and including such bold words as saying, hey, they have 10 days. Yeah, we should give them 10 days. And if they don't leave, if these troops don't leave, if these, ambassadors and so on and so forth, all of them don't leave, then, obviously they were, saying that they're going to do what they got to do, right? That they're willing to give up their lives for it, right? So it is getting very heavy down there, right? As you see here, right? We don't want the French army in Niger, said one demonstrator. Let the French leave. The French say that Niger is a poor country, but when we tell them to go home, they refuse, right? And again, they also spoke about rape, rob, and pillage, right? They were talking about that. And there was a particular individual who was being recorded via video and saying that, yeah, they come here, they just take our resources and everything as such, man. They are sick of Esau, right? They're sick of these devils, man. They're sick of the beasts in the NATO EU nations, right? They're sick of that, man. And they know that they have an opportunity with the, if it comes to having the support of the BRICS nations, right? Now it says West Africa's ECOWAS rejects Niger junta's proposed 3-day delay for elections, right? So it says right here, this was reported last week, West Africa's main regional bloc ECOWAS has rejected a proposal by Niger's military junta to hold elections within 3 years, extending a political impasse that could trigger a military intervention if no agreement is reached by following a July coup. ECOWAS and other international powers have been seeking diplomatic solutions to the July 26 push in Niger. Okay, continue down a little further. So I'll give a moment. If talks fail, right? It doubled down on its threat Friday, one day before the junta eventually agreed to meet an ECOWAS delegation in the capital of Niamey, suggesting new willingness to cooperate, right? So basically they had soldiers ready to go. They were ready to get busy, right? But ultimately, the Nigerians made the decision to avoid conflict at the time and ultimately buy themselves more time in order to just host a delegation and have talks, if you will, right? And Salakia, one moment, like I said, Esau slowing things down, playing games, man. Once, you know what I mean? Once you start getting somewhere, right? So it says Niger's junta 3 years, man, right? So it says the Western African bloc ECOWAS rejected the proposal by Niger's soldiers for a 3-year transition to democratic rule. Now it says right here, calling it a provocation. Now it says right here, the door for diplomacy with Niger's junta remain open, but the bloc is not going to engage in drawn-out talks that lead nowhere, per Abdel Fattah Musa, right? So it says right here, it is the belief among the ECOWAS heads of state and also the commission that the coup in Niger is one coup too many for the region, and if we allow it, then we are going to have a domino effect in the region, and we are determined to stop it. While direct talks and back channel negotiations are ongoing, he said the door to diplomacy wasn't open indefinitely. We are not going to engage in long, drawn-out haggling with these military officers. We went down that route in Mali and Burkina Faso and elsewhere, and we are getting nowhere. That's right, man. AKA, they're going to take action. They're going to lay out ultimatums. They're going to lay down their demands. And if they're not met, it's going to be, it's going to proceed. It's going to escalate to military action, right? So again, saying basically, yeah, we tried that. We did that before, and it didn't work. It wasn't to the benefit of, our people and whatnot. So see, again, this is This is just one more thing right here, as you can see, right? So basically what this tweet, and again, mind you, again, you pull up a tweet, right? You pull it up for a video, it shows it prior to recording, and then it does this, right? So Esau playing game, the famine of the word is drawing nigh. All right, so I just want to put that on screen. Now, what that tweet did read, though, was that they're going to be hosting, they're willing to host, that Niger is willing to have Mali and Burkina Faso troops on their territory, right? That was what the tweet had read, right? Okay, so now as you read this article here per Reuters, okay, Niger allows Mali, Burkina Faso troops to enter its territory in case of an attack. Niger has authorized Mali and Burkina Faso's armed forces to intervene on its territory in case of an attack, the country said in a joint statement on Thursday, a possible sign that the junta in Niger plans to keep resisting regional pressure to stand down. The main West African bloc, ECOWAS, has been trying to negotiate with the coup leaders, but warned it is ready to send troops into Niger to restore constitutional order if diplomatic efforts fail. Right, so saying, hey, yeah, if it don't happen, we got troops ready. We ready to get busy. We about that action, right? So thus, they bought themselves more time. A few days later, they're saying, okay, yeah, hey, we're gonna allow Mali and Burkina Faso to bring their troops into our territory to help us, man, to come to our aid. So it says right here, any escalation risks further destabilizing the insurgent-torn region, and Niger's junta-led neighbors Mali and Burkina Faso have said they would back Niger if any conflict with ECOWAS. Now it says the three allies' foreign ministers said that they had met in the Nigerian capital Niamey to discuss boosting cooperation on security and other joint issues. The statement said the ministers were General Tiani. I'll just say his last name. I ain't even going to try to pronounce his first name. The General Tiani of the two orders authorizing the defense and security forces of Burkina Faso and Mali to intervene on Nigerian territory in the event of an attack. So it says here, the Burkinabe and Malian ministers reiterated their rejection of an armed intervention against the people of Niger, which will be considered as a declaration of war. All praises to YAHAWASHI for that, right? So again, you have these nations, right? This collective nations of Nigeria and ultimately BRICS, and then you have the ECOWAS nations, which are ultimately backed by the NATO and EU Babylon America system, right? Slovakia. So once this thing was up, it's a little slow at the moment. Slovakia, give me one moment. So Esau playing games right here, man. Slovakia. Slowly but surely. Okay, so let's see if I can share this. Okay, so this is St. Luke chapter 1. All right, if you can still select this, Esau just slowing down the stream and just playing games. Esau hurt. Esau's cut. Okay, Slovakia. Just want to make sure the feed's still going. Okay, cool. Finally caught up. The water Yahawah. Okay, St. Luke 12:51 says, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth, I tell you nay, but rather division. That's right, man. So again, not coming with peace, man, coming with a sword, as the reading says, right? So again, no, man, the only begotten son came here not to bring peace on earth in that sense, right? No, he's known as the Prince of Peace, right? But again, what must come before peace is restored, in particular for the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, starting with the remnant, the elect, and for the earth, which is going to be restored in righteousness, and the righteous kingdom will be established. But again, people are saying, oh, God is love, God is love. Right? Let's go into division here. The Strong's Greek definition for division.
Strong's G 1267. Diameris mas. Diameris mas.
Diameris mas, right? A parting, distribution, a disunion, right? Division, right? Absolutely, man. So a parting, a disunion and division. So all these other nations and whatnot, and all these other collective, bodies, alliances, and so on and so forth, right? There's a heavy sense, a spirit of division, and you're gonna have to draw the line in the sand, right? As the old saying goes, right? So again, the Heavenly Father is willing this to take place in these latter days. All praises to YAHAWASHI for that, right? We'll slack here once this thing loads up. We'll continue on. All right, nearing the end of this right here. Now, this is zerohedge.com. U.S. Navy's Death Star, quote unquote, destroyer prepares for hypersonic weapon installation, right? So it says right here, the U.S. Navy, let's see. You have a Zumwalt class stealth destroyer with missile tubes to house hypersonic weapons, right? So they're installing these. And the USS Zumwalt arrived in Pascagoula, Mississippi, okay, to enter a modernization period and receive technology upgrades, including the integration of the conventional prompt strike weapons system, right? And it says the quote-unquote, reading it verbatim, the upgrades will ensure Zumwalt remains one of the most technologically advanced and lethal ships in the U.S. Navy, right? So I'll continue further down. You see a few pictures, blah, 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 right? So this is right here. And says notes other hypersonic missiles, right? CHGB. So again, common hypersonic glide bodies. Now it says right here, the U.S. has not fielded such weapons. Speaking of these hypersonic missiles, for both scientific and policy reasons, right? But again, they are preparing for this, right? They're preparing for this, and again, they're girding up for war. All these nations, man, they got to go tit for tat, right? They got to go. They gotta match that level of dedication and intensity because they know that the end drop nigh, right? And ultimately, the Heavenly Father is putting the Spirit on them, right? And Salakia once again. Testing, mic check. Testing, mic check. All right, if y'all can hear me, if anyone's on the line, Bubble Shy, if you can give me a thumbs up or anything as such, and I don't know if the Zah, I can get back. Okay, I don't know if the Zah. All right, so yeah, if anyone's on the line, Bubble Shy, can give me a little thumbs up. Anything on the comment board, a sign of life. I got the timer going here, so I figured that I may be on, but I don't know if the Zah. If not, I'm just gonna finish anyways. All right, so this is Psalm 33:10. Once again, out of one YAHAWAH, Bashem Yahushua, the Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people to none effect. Right. So again, we pray that not only that charagma, right, the elect shall not be deceived, right? Ultimately, these devils, man, they're looking to to even to fight with the angels, man, the holy angels and Hamashiach Yahushua, right, in the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? We know that through biblical prophecy, man, through the will of Yahweh Shai, that is also going to be a thing of naught, right? It's all going to be in vain, man. Those efforts are going to be futile, right? So I don't have to desire we're one day closer to that, right? And let me grab another reading. I'll finish out here in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 4. Okay, looks like we're good now. Yeah, man, the connection just got chewed up. Yeah, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 4, but in the GNT. So this is per BibleHub.com, 2nd Ezra 4 on the Good News Translation. All right, I'm going to go down. And this starts off in, let me start at verse 28. Go down. Now it says right here, the subtitle of the section reads, The End of the Age. Right, man? So the end of the age of this world, right? This aeon, which is a time period. So again, the word world translates to the Greek aeon or eon, however you like to pronounce it, translates into a time period. So the end of whose world? Esau's world, and the beginning of Jacob that is to follow. AHTHA. We're one day closer to that. So 2nd Ezra 4 and 28 in the GNT, Good News Translation. The evil about which you have asked me has already been planted, but the time for its harvesting has not yet arrived. This evil must be harvested, and this world where it is planted must be removed before the new age where the good is to be planted can appear. Right? So again, that which is to come, right? The good that is to come. Okay. But first, what must come? Right? It's like when you're planting crops and whatnot, right? When you go, you till the land, you till it and you clear out all the old roots and everything like that. And then you plant again, right? Right. Just roughly, describing the process of it, right? So again, you know what I mean? Same thing when you're planting a garden, right? Same thing. You want to, you want to get some nice clean spots, man. Make sure you have clean, you know what I mean? The material's clean and everything around it, and it's going to provide a sustainable growth opportunity, right? So again, continuing on in 2nd Ezra 4 and 30 in the GNT. At the beginning of time, one grain of evil seed was sown in the heart of Adam. And it was first transgression was that of Eve, but Adam followed, of course. And it says, see how much wickedness is already produced. Think of how much more it will produce before it is cut down and threshed out at judgment day. Right? So this world will continue on, man. Right? Think of how much wickedness. Think of how many abominations and iniquity would continue to build up. Right? The scriptures speak on that as well. Lest the days be shortened, no flesh shall be saved. Right? But for the elect's sake, the days are shortened. Continue on, it says, you can see for yourself what a big crop this evil one seed has produced. How terrible will be the harvest on judgment day when these countless heads of grain will be threshed out, when they are threshed out. Absolutely, man. So how great will that harvest be, right? The chief reaper being Hamashiach YAHAWASHI, along with the holy angels, man. Right? And it says right here, then I asked, how long do we have to wait before this happens? Why are our lives so short and so full of misery? Uriel, the holy angel, asked the archangel, don't be in a greater hurry than God, the Most High power. It says, you are thinking only of yourself, but the Most High has to be concerned about everybody. Your questions are the same ones asked by the souls of the righteous dead in the places where the Most High God power is keeping them waiting. How long must we wait here? When will the days of judgment come? When will we get our reward? The archangel, and it says Jeremiel, but it's Uriel, so there was just a typo there per Bible Hub. It says answers them, it will happen as soon as the complete number of those who have suffered as you have are here, as soon as the remnant, the elect, are sealed. For the Most High God has weighed this age, measured the years, and numbered the days. Nothing will be changed until time has run its predetermined course. That's right. So nothing shall be changed. And the scriptures say, man, about one jot, one tittle, right? Okay. Yeah, to all be fulfilled. And it is all going to be fulfilled here in these latter days. Thus saith the Holy Scriptures. AHTHA. Babusha. I don't want to die. The YAHAWASHI, but now we'll allow this to take place here, sooner rather than later, and Lord willing, through being able to measure the times diligently, right? Through the biblical prophecies, all the tokens and signs that we are seeing, that we are one day closer to that taking place. Okay, so AHTHA, Lord's will. This lesson was edifying, comforting, and exhorting to the hopeful elect of Israel. This has been another installment of Gears of War bricks, and bombs. And I don't know the again, this was Edifying Company exhorting to the hopeful elect of Israel, YAHAWASHI, Salakia for the tech difficulties, man. This is Esau, you know, Eve being a damn devil, but that's his job, spiritual demon, Satan. That's what they're created to do. So I don't know the we be created on the right hand of righteousness, and on the left side we may humbly serve and continue to fight the good fight of faith, right? So you can't, as the scriptures also say, you can't do anything against the word before it, right? Okay, so the water for the brothers and oh man, the water for the brothers and sisters that may have stopped by, and again, Salakia, man, Esau, Esau, a damn devil, hiding comments and stuff. Yeah, I didn't even see you brothers posting up these precepts. Let me grab this real quick. Oh, okay. So let's see. The brother, you want to thumb a card? Ask the question. Let's see if I can post it. Okay, just ask the question. Do you think South Korea will turn on America because North Korea will jack them up? Because they're, you know, hey, I don't know that would, hey, crazier things have happened, right? I don't know if it's the will of the Lord, man. That I could see that happening. I could, because I know that in the past, in times past, South Korea was calling out the U.S. on certain things, and they were not taking kindly to certain comments that were made by U.S. leadership. I believe it was Joe Biden as well, right? So yeah, they had taken offense to certain things, and with the South Koreans being built up so much militarily, you know, I could very well see that, right? As the scriptures say, the beast shall hate the whore, right? You know, burn her utterly with fire, I believe, roughly paraphrasing that from the book of Revelation, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I could see that through the spirit, but you know, I don't know if it's the will of the Lord, man. That would be beautiful, man. Absolutely. Brother Mayan Lab posted up Jeremiah 144, Salakia, Jeremiah 50:14. And again, Salakia, man, Esau playing games with the comment board, man. So I barely saw these right now. Jeremiah 50:14 says, "Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows. For she hath sinned against Adawan Yahawah the Lord." That's right, man. So again, they're putting themselves in array, and they're coming up, man, roundabout, right? You know, they're lining themselves up all around the world. And ultimately, they're going to be shooting nukes on Babylon, America. Again, all you that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows. For she hath sinned against Adawan Yahawah. Jeremiah 50:15, shout against her roundabout. She said, she hath given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. So I mean, that foundation is fallen, and she's off her rocker, man. She's off her spot. For it is the vengeance of Adawan Yahawah, the Lord, take vengeance upon her, as she hath done, do unto her. So that rape, rob, and pillage, the polluting and defiling of the entire earth and cultures and peoples, you know, different forms of captivity, perpetual war, so on and so forth, man. This place has absolutely got to go. So the water for the brothers that posted precepts, and Slakia again, if I didn't get to anything or if I didn't see anything, these damn devils again playing games every way they can. So with that, again, Lord's will, this lesson was Edifying Company exhorting to the brothers and sisters, the hopeful, like the Akim, the YAHAWAH, the hopeful remnant that shall be saved in these latter days. I want to close out by, as always, by giving all honor, glory, and praises unto our power, Yahawah, BaHaSham, YAHAWASHI, BaHaSham, RAWCHAA Kodash, Call HALALYAM, AHTHA, YAHAWAH, BaHaSham, YAHAWASHI, BaHaSham, RAWCHAA Kodash. And sincere honors and thanks and appreciation to the sincere elders and apostles and teachers, bishops, teachers of GMS Great Millstone, as well as like-minded elders who are under the umbrella, pushing this truth and sincerity all in one accord across four winds, risking your lives and freedoms to do so, making your bodies burnt offering and a living sacrifice in the names of YAHAWASHI. So to you, I say shalom, peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the house of David, the tabernacle of David, to the 1/3 remnant that shall be saved here in his latter days, to the 144,000, I don't have to desire, continue to fight the good fight of faith. BRICS Yam Yah, blessings always. So shalom, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, Barakatam. I want to close out as always by putting a curse on Babylon, America. Abad Babal, DTA soon. Kwam Yasharahla, and shalom. Until the next time, I don't have to desire. You are appreciated. Shalom.